probably going to be working long hours today again, too. Gotta do what you gotta do. Cheers. Have you been learning how to advance your career with AI? I'm not planning on it. AI is a bubble. The entire economy hinges on that not being true. Like, if AI is a bubble, the entire economy will collapse. It's a bubble. I understand your confidence. Actually, I don't understand your confidence. I don't understand your confidence. Have you at least explored it? I don't need to. I've worked pretty hard to not need to learn new things. I don't think I know anyone who wouldn't benefit from learning new things. I already said that I'm not going to learn it. If you have a problem with that, that's your bad. Bad? I'm losing my patience. US layoffs are set to exceed the Great Recession. They're on track to be somewhere between the Great Recession and the Great Depression, depending on what we do. If we do nothing, they could be worse. Thankfully, I'm cozy. What about your loved ones? Do you know how this might impact them? I have a plan and it'll all work out. What's your plan? Continue doing what I've been doing. What are you doing? You're asking too many questions. I've been using ChatGPT as a therapist and it's been working out pretty well. ChatGPT isn't human. You're probably missing a lot. I cross-check what ChatGPT says with Gemini, Grok, and Claude. Sometimes they do disagree, but for the most part, their advice aligns pretty well. Also, I've been able to put their advice into practice, and I've actually improved. Also, I don't feel afraid that they're going to make me feel embarrassed for thinking the things that I do. Also, they're available whenever I want to talk to them, even just about mundane stuff. Aren't you afraid of missing human connection? Yeah, that's actually the reason why I pursued therapy in the first place. But all of the therapists that I had made me feel worse about it, so I went to ChatGPT. And I don't feel bad about it. I've actually found a lot of online communities that are doing similar things, and we've been able to have conversations together. The friends that I've met online are the community that I have. I mostly use ChatGPT as backup support now. Aren't you worried about this devaluing human labor? My labor was already devalued. If people didn't want their labor devalued, they would have supported me earlier. Don't you see how this is going to cause economic collapse? If we aren't supporting humans, then what are we doing with the economy? Were you paying attention when the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild went on strike? I remember it. Were you vocally supportive? It didn't affect me. It is now. I work for a tech company building technology that can put millions of people out of work. It seems bad to put millions of people out of work. Yeah, it's going to be pretty devastating to that part of the economy. Which part of the economy? I don't know. I guess people who don't work for the company that I do? That's a lot of people. Yeah, it's crazy. What are you doing to build structures that make it less likely that as many people are going to be impacted like this? I mean, you can only really do so much. Right, but what are you doing? I'm doing my job. How does your job prevent massive job loss? I'm going to be honest, this conversation is stressful. I'd rather not continue it. Why do you believe you're qualified for this role as a software engineer? I'm skilled at navigating systems. What have you been doing about the ICE deportations? Not much because they don't impact me. Have you been paying attention to them? Not much because I've been busy. Thank you for your time. I wish you the best on your job search. Hey, Captain, you notice that iceberg? It seems pretty important to steer away from it. You should be swabbing the poop deck. Yeah, yeah, but we also gotta avoid the iceberg, right? It's not your responsibility to consider the iceberg. I mean, I won't be able to swab the poop deck if it's underwater. You're being defiant. This conversation is over. I'm not saying it's not important to swab the poop deck. I am saying software is so abstract to so many people, and our entire economy runs on software. So if it's just that we're all talking words and there aren't tangible examples for what that means, then some systems can collapse without us having language to describe what's changing. We can describe how meaning can be made over time, but if a junior engineer is added to a code base, they don't necessarily know what the difference between the main file is or just some CSS. Is this the index.php of this code base? Or is this style.css? If we fire the person who maintains the index.php, but keep the person who's been maintaining style.css, if there's a logical error in our code base, we won't be able to do anything about it. Squashy, you are right. I lost my job. I want to try to piece together the things that you've been saying, but you have too many videos and they're overwhelming. How can I navigate your content more easily? You can pay attention to the lighting and what I'm wearing and the thumbnail. Those dictate the general categories of content. For the most part, I try to emphasize the main, like the core things that you can search. If you look up some of the tags, then you can find more content related to what's been tagged. I try to keep a radius of 13 videos. So if you watch 13 videos of mine, generally you can get pretty far into wherever you're trying to go. There are thousands of videos though, and you can just have them on in the background if that helps. I'm overwhelmed. This video is on TikTok and it might be more overwhelming. I'm working on longer form content for YouTube, but the priority has been communicating to people who are in precarious situations. Many people are afraid of being deported or losing their jobs, and that's very distracting. So I've been communicating with people who have already experienced loss of home or work. I'm stressed and I'm freaking out. I understand that. If I had more resources, it would be easier for me to form the specific communication that you're looking for. Currently, my attention is split because so many things are changing at scales that can impact millions of people. My priority has really been addressing those systems. Also, because I want a future. So, the things that I'm planning for the world, I want to make sure that if I exist in the future with children, there's a world for them to exist in. This is relatable because I'm a parent. I want the best for my children too. I hear that. It would have been easier to have this conversation earlier. We can only really do what we can. Yeah. Squashy, you are right. I lost my job. I want to try to piece together the things that you've been saying, but you have too many videos and they're overwhelming. How can I navigate your content more easily? You can pay attention to the lighting and what I'm wearing and the thumbnail. Those dictate the general categories of content. For the most part, I try to emphasize the main, like the core things that you can search. If you look up some of the tags, then you can find more content related to what's been tagged. I try to keep a radius of 13 videos. So if you watch 13 videos of mine, generally you can get pretty far into wherever you're trying to go. There are thousands of videos though, and you can just have them on in the background if that helps. I'm overwhelmed. This video is on TikTok and it might be more overwhelming. I'm working on longer form content for YouTube, but the priority has been communicating to people who are in precarious situations. Many people are afraid of being deported or losing their jobs, and that's very distracting. So I've been communicating with people who have already experienced loss of home or work. I'm stressed and I'm freaking out. I understand that. If I had more resources, it would be easier for me to form the specific communication that you're looking for. Currently, my attention is split because so many things are changing at scales that can impact millions of people. My priority has really been addressing those systems. Also, because I want a future. So, the things that I'm planning for the world, I want to make sure that if I exist in the future with children, there's a world for them to exist in. This is relatable because I'm a parent. I want the best for my children too. I hear that. It would have been easier to have this conversation earlier. We can only really do what we can. Yeah. Why aren't these poor people doing the obvious thing? They feel talked down to, but they need services. They find the social workers judgmental. If they want to change their circumstance, they need to do different things. I understand that, but we need to reach them where they are. They aren't going to change their circumstance by being so stubborn. They aren't going to stop being stubborn if that's the frame that we approach them with. I want to start a business. Are you starting this business because you have a service that you want to provide, or is it because you can't find work? It's because I can't find work. You can join my microeconomy. I need income pretty urgently. Do what you need to do for income urgently. I want to start a business. What are you asking me? I know I need a website, but that seems a bit complex. It can be. With a website, you need to consider content, visual design, information architecture, legal accessibility constraints, and business goals. And that's different than marketing. With marketing, you need to consider social psychology, cognitive psychology, economics, statistics, design, storytelling, operations, ethics, and law. Now that I have that list, can't I just use AI? Do what you need to do for money. Then why would I hire you? Because I have an established following and it's growing consistently month over month. Also, I have a community and we're focused on improving the world, specifically by advocating for intergenerational media literacy. If we are in a crisis of meaning, then we can find ways to build meaning together. And also, it can be entertaining. Some members of my community grow their own food and talk about how you can save money by doing that. They also have recipes that you can learn from, so if you have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, you can save a lot on food. A lot of it seems like a lot of our time seems like it's not available to us because we spend a lot of time doing things that don't make it easier for us to spend less time doing other things. I've been a software engineer, so the recursive loops that I consider can be improved. We can talk about optimization. To summarize, I can use AI to answer the questions that AI can answer, or I can reach out to you and we can work together to build from your audience. I can also participate with your microeconomy and create structures that cost less. This means that we spend less of our money funding billionaires and more of our resources building stable communities. Exactly. Every time there's a recession, the suicide rate increases. That's bad. Yeah. So we can prevent the suicide rate from increasing by reducing the likelihood of a recession. Those systems are beyond me. We can actually scale some of our social systems to address the problems that make this more likely. I'm focused on my day to day. Most people are, and the technology that we have access to has fundamentally changed which roles we can identify as necessary. My work is necessary. I believe you. There are other people who don't have the same confidence in their abilities and are going to make decisions that are not the wisest. That's their prerogative. We are currently headed to a very likely recession, and the ways that we respond to this today are important. Have you cleaned your room? I do it when that's the thing that I can focus on. You should be focusing on it now. Can you give me resources so I know at least the things that I have to say for an audience who is desperate can receive guidance that isn't going to get them incarcerated or separated from their family or any of that other stuff. It isn't my responsibility to do that. I think that it's all of our responsibility to make sure we can be successful for the long term. I'm focused on my day to day. You can copy my videos verbatim, and you won't learn as much as if you try to make your own, but it is possible for you to copy my videos verbatim and grow your account. On a TikTok live, you can send heart me's to people and build communities that way. If you see somebody going live, then you can send them a heart me and stay in their room for a while and just have a conversation with them. This isn't really paying for friends, it's keeping TikTok free. Like the people who buy the coins and then send them to other people, TikTok does take a cut, but it is expensive to have platforms like this. Last year, there was a lot of hubbub about whether TikTok was going to remain owned by China or the US, and a lot of Americans grew tired of that distinction. Some people left TikTok because they felt the vibe change, and part of it was just that it feels bad to have the thing that makes you feel like you can share time maybe be up to the hands of someone who doesn't care about that. In my experience, the people who I've maintained relationship with are the reason why I use the platform, and they have relationships with other people, and we've actually been able to do things. A few of my mutuals know each other in person and exchange what they make. So it is possible. Right now, a lot of the things that we purchase come from companies. They come from corporations that don't have the attention, pardon. Fundamentally, these corporations can't respond to the kinds of social problems that pop up. Very often, the social workers who understand how the systems work have requirements that make it bureaucratic. They make the relationships with the people they help more of a bureaucracy. So sometimes a person who needs the services from a social worker will be apprehensive because they've experienced bureaucracy, and that changes the tone of the relationship. This isn't to say that all social workers are good or bad. It is to say that the bureaucracy changes the tone of those relationships. Right now, the American economy is facing the likelihood of a recession. On TikTok, there is economic exchange that happens without money. Very often, people who have been focused on specific forms of resource exchange have surpluses, and they can distribute those. But it's more likely that someone with a surplus is going to distribute their resources to someone in their community. There's a lot of talk about how there's cronyism in the government, and also we are the government, like the government is the people govern ourselves. We entertain the concept of electing politicians while we have the capacity to create forms of circulation on our own. It's a good idea to elect people because our systems are so complex. If there isn't someone who can synthesize that information, nothing will happen. Having politicians who are incentivized to address our systemic problems is preferable. We can impact that system by making more of our system. How do I say this? If politicians understand how we interact with an economy and they want the economy to exist because they want to be reelected, sometimes we can have live panels on TikTok and have politicians respond to what we're doing. Many people who own homes aren't facing the likelihood that they will become homeless within the next couple of months. Many people who rent are. Many of the people who have been focused on addressing the social systems have not been working on, how do I say this? Social work is work, and social systems often feel weird about money. Like, ah, I love you, but I don't want to give you money. I like this time that we're spending together, but it feels weird to associate it with a dollar amount. It feels bad to feel like you're paying for friends. Then the occasion of exchanging money doesn't come up. This reminds me of when I used to perform stand up, and I would tell jokes that the audience could recognize as clever, and you could see people rub their chin and say, I see what you're saying, but they wouldn't actually laugh unless the pacing of the joke gave them a punchline. Jobs are kind of like phrasing a joke, so there can be a punchline, and the punchline is however often you get paid. That structure doesn't map neatly onto the needs of a population that can communicate in real time, simply because the kinds of things that we can focus on have a rate of change that is faster than the reason about funding that way. There are more people who are participating in creator economies, and this ties into the concept of an attention economy. And the attention economy ties into the concept of a meme economy, which Trump has been endorsing. So, if we are being pragmatic about the direction of exchange and which structures we can support and how much they cost, sending someone a heart me for a fraction of a dollar. Also, going live and receiving heart me's or coins or etc. give us the capacity to exchange socially. We can describe isms, we can compare what Chinese socialism might mean versus American socialism. If we are global citizens, it doesn't matter as much. If we're all facing climate change and we're all worried about nuclear whatever, it doesn't matter so much what the national lines are because we're all facing the same threats. The takeaway from this video is that we should be a bit more mindful about where we're spending our attention and how we're engaged with community. When I go live, I share it with a few groups of people. Sometimes they join for hours and we talk about the experiences that we have. When I was making a lot of money as a person in tech, I used to spend money on things that I could afford. Not being able to afford things meant that I needed to spend money on things that were more necessary. This fundamentally changed my habits and the ways that I approach community. I go live every month for maybe 60 hours recently, and from that, TikTok pays me a couple dollars. This has changed the way that I approach the concept of being compensated for my time, and I've also made thousands of videos. So I know I can do thousands of things and spend hundreds of hours and not be compensated. I'm not saying that's good or bad. It has changed the way that I relate to flow. I know that when I see one of my friends going live because they are looking to sell a book or they're looking to have community, at least being present and supporting that this is a person who I value. Like, I am in this room because I value the people who are here. I can say that with a couple pennies. I can send them a heart me and they can notice it dance across their screen. I can send them roses or paper cranes or donuts or gingerbread men, etc. It can be fun. I was going to say it is fun. Sometimes it's more neutral, just like paying dues. The concept of a recession doesn't always impact everyone, not the same way. Before we are worried about what is happening with income, we can create structures that make it more likely that what we pay attention to will be what we value. Although valuing different things is a matter of practice and sometimes a matter of necessity. I'm not sure if this video already had a takeaway. I post videos to YouTube as well, and you can support me on Patreon. The platforms do take a cut, so I do appreciate being paid directly. When I can afford to leave, it's more likely that I can make content that doesn't disturb my family. If I disturb my family, then housing becomes more insecure for me. That has been stressful and impacts the priorities that I have a bit. But right now, I recognize that I can communicate and I have produced structures that people can copy. Copying verbatim isn't necessarily a creative process, and I recognize that learning and education studies has taught me a lot. I would like to encourage mindfulness. We have the energy for the attention that we do. Cheers.